Your job is your best investor. Most people think wealth comes from having money, but there's a group of people right now across every major city, every industry, who are building generational wealth with something they already have, and they have no idea that's what they're doing. The average millionaire doesn't get rich from inheritance, doesn't get rich from a lucky stock pick, doesn't get rich from a viral TikTok. They get rich from something so obvious, so mundane that everyone overlooks it completely: their job. But here's the uncomfortable part. Your job isn't just income. Your job is actually an investment vehicle. And the real problem isn't that you're not investing enough money, it's that you're not investing in yourself enough. And by the time you realize what you're actually holding, the best years to compound it are already gone. Why this matters now? Let me show you why this timing is critical. The average person spends roughly 90,000 hours working in their lifetime. 90,000. That's not a side project. That's not a passive income stream. That's your primary asset. And the gap between someone who treats their job as just job versus someone who treats it as an investment doubles, triples, sometimes quadruples their lifetime earnings. Here's what's changed recently. 20 years ago, the path was clear. You stayed at a company for 30 years, collected a pension, retired at 65. The math was simple. Your job was stable. Your job was predictable. But that contract is broken. Now, the data shows something strange. Workers who stay at the same company for more than 2 years earn, on average, 50% less over their lifetime than workers who switch roles every 3 to 4 years. 50%. That's not a small number. That's the difference between retiring comfortable and retiring stressed. But here's the twist. Most people respond to this by doing exactly the wrong thing. They panic. They job hop randomly. They chase titles instead of skills. They treat their career like a slot machine and wonder why they're not winning. The people who do win are thinking about their job completely differently. The investment thesis. So let's define what your job actually is from an investment perspective. When you work, you're doing 3 things simultaneously. First, you're earning immediate income. That's the salary. That's rent and food and Netflix. Most people stop analyzing right there. But you're also earning something invisible. You're earning equity in yourself. Every project you complete, every skill you develop, every network connection you make, these are building blocks. They increase your market value. They increase your earning potential. And unlike a stock, they can never be taken away. They live inside you. And third, you're generating optionality. Each role, each company, each industry teaches you something about how the world works. It expands the number of doors that can open for you later. It compounds your choices. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's say you're making $50,000 a year. Most people think, I earn $50,000. That's it. That's the transaction. But what if your market value, the amount someone else would actually pay you with your current skills and network, is actually $65,000? You're leaving $15,000 on the table, not just this year, every year. And if that $15,000 compounded at even 7%, the market average, over a 30-year career, that's real money leaving your life. How much? Over 3 decades, that gap compounds to about $1.2 million. Not in wealth you invested, in wealth you never earned because you didn't invest in your own value. Now imagine the opposite. Someone who is intentional about their job from day one. They're not working for the money. They're working for the equity, the skills, the network, the optionality. They're asking strategic questions. What do I need to learn this year? Who do I need to know? What is my market value, and is it growing faster than inflation? That person statistically doubles their earnings every 5 to 7 years early in their career. Not by accident, by design. How the system actually works. Let's break down the mechanism of why this works. Your paycheck has 2 hidden components that nobody talks about. The first is your cost of living, the money you need to survive. The second is your market premium. It's the extra money you earn because of your specific skills and experience relative to someone else doing a similar job. That premium is almost entirely determined by 3 things. 1, your skill set. What can you do that others can't? 2, your network. Who do you know that can create opportunities? 3. Your track record. What have you actually shipped? What problems have you solved? These three things compound, they feed each other. Here's the mechanical example. Let's say you're a software engineer making $100,000 a year. That's roughly the national median for that role. The 100,000 breaks down like this. 60,000 is your cost of living adjustment, basically what any competent engineer gets. 40,000 is your personal premium. That's where your edge lives. Now you could spend that 40,000 on consumption, a nicer apartment, a fancy car, vacations, and your market value stays flat. You're treading water. Or, and this is the investment thesis, you could allocate part of that 40,000 to upgrading your human capital, not the paycheck, the underlying asset. What does that mean practically? You take a course in AI, you read the papers, you build a project, you put it on GitHub. Suddenly your market value goes up. Not next month, but in 18 months when you're negotiating your next role, you can command 120,000, maybe 130,000. That course might have cost you $3,000 and 200 hours. The return on that investment is massive. But here's where most people get it wrong. They wait until they're job searching to invest in themselves. They panic, they scramble, and by then the market has already moved. The people winning are constantly investing, during downturns, during stability, regardless of market conditions. The uncomfortable math. Now let's get to the uncomfortable part, because this is where people usually tune out. But this is where the real story is. The average person's career arc looks like this. You start at 30,000. By year 3, you're at 35,000. By year 7, you're at 42,000. By year 15, you're at 58,000. By year 30, you're at 72,000. It's a line that goes up and to the right. It looks like success, steady growth, promotions every few years, annual raises. You retire with decent savings. You did the thing. You were responsible. Except the line should not look like that. According to your market value data, what employers are actually paying people with your exact skills and experience, you should be growing dramatically faster early on. In the first 7 to 10 years, your market value should be increasing 15 to 20% annually. That's the compound growth rate when you're strategic. Most people compress all their growth into years 10 through 20 when they've already missed the compounding window. They get their MBA at year 12. They specialize at year 13. By then, they've already lost 2 decades of potential equity growth. The math is brutal. Someone who invests in themselves from year 1 and reaches $80,000 by year 7 will, by year 30, be earning somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 annually, not through luck, not through inheritance, through consistent, deliberate investment in their own market value. Someone who stays in a steady job, gets 3% annual raises, doesn't upskill, doesn't network intentionally. They're looking at $120,000 by year 30. Maybe $130,000 if they're in a high-paying field. The difference is not a rounding error. Over a lifetime, it's $5 to $10 million in cumulative earnings. That's not a salary difference. That's a completely different life. And the worst part? The math doesn't lie, but most people don't realize they're in the slow lane until year 15. By then, they're already deep in a career path. They have obligations. Moving is harder. Retraining feels risky. So they rationalize. They tell themselves they like stability. They like their job. They're content. But content is a symptom of opportunity cost blindness. The hidden cost of stability. Here's what companies don't tell you. They built an entire system to make you comfortable staying in one place. It's genius, actually. If you stay at a company, they pay you less than your market value every single year. It compounds in their favor. You get small raises, maybe 3%, maybe 4%. You get benefits, a 401k match, vacation days, health insurance. All of those things are real and valuable, but they're also a golden handcuff. The longer you stay, the more you've invested in this specific place. Your network is internal. Your skills are partially company-specific. Your resume has this long stretch of continuity that looks like it's stable, but actually looks to an outsider like you haven't pushed yourself. Meanwhile, someone jumping every 2 or 3 years is constantly negotiating from the position of power. Each jump means a 15 to 20% salary increase on average. That's not theoretical. That's what the data shows. Amazon to Google, Google to a startup, startup to a consulting firm. And yes, there's risk. You lose some of those golden handcuffs. You have to rebuild your internal network at each new place. But you're optimizing for your actual goal, increasing your market value, not staying comfortable. The companies know this. Watch their behavior. They lobby for non-compete agreements. They fight hard for remote work flexibility because it expands your options. They tout culture and family because that's cheaper than paying you what you're actually worth. I'm not saying this cynically. I'm saying this as observable fact. The math is aligned against you if you stay in one place believing they're going to pay you fair market value over time. They're not. It's not possible. If they did, they'd have no incentive to keep you. The people who win understand this isn't personal. It's a market dynamic. So why isn't everyone doing this? Because culture tells a different story. We're told that job hopping looks bad, that it signals disloyalty, that real professionals stay put, that you're supposed to climb a ladder, not keep jumping to different ladders. This narrative is garbage, and it's expensive garbage. Here's the reality. The most successful people you know have changed jobs intentionally, multiple times, not because they were fired, not because they panicked, but because they understood their own market value and they refused to settle for less than their actual worth. The hype says, build deep expertise at one company, become indispensable, climb that ladder. The reality is, deep expertise is only valuable if it's transferable. And the ladder never ends. There's always someone above you. And staying at one company means your expertise becomes narrow. You become an expert in your company's systems, not in your field. That's fragile. The bigger implications. Zoom out for a second. What does this mean for the economy? It means wealth inequality gets baked in early. The people who figure this out, often because their parents or their network told them, start compounding faster by year 4. By year 15, the gap is enormous. By retirement, the difference between top earners and average earners is easily a factor of 5. The system isn't designed to help you discover this. Schools don't teach career strategy. Parents don't all know this themselves. Managers have no incentive to tell you that you're underpaid or that you should develop strategic skills. So you have to figure it out. And the people who figure it out by accident or through privilege pull away from everyone else. It also means that the concept of job security is outdated. Companies aren't secure. Industries aren't secure. The only security you actually have is the security of your own market value. How badly does someone else want to hire you? That's real security. And it means that your most important investment decisions aren't in your portfolio, they're in you. How much time are you spending developing skills? How intentional is your network building? Are you actually increasing your market value, or are you just getting older? Here's where I'm supposed to tell you the answer, give you a neat conclusion, a clean path forward. But I can't, because the real question isn't what you should do. The question is deeper than that. It's this: at what point does the trade-off stop making sense? You can optimize your market value. You can jump jobs every 3 years. You can maximize earnings. You can reach $200,000, $300,000 annually by 45. All of that is possible. But there's a cost. It's a cost nobody talks about. The cost of constant movement, of never being comfortable, of always optimizing, of never building deep roots or working on something you believe in that doesn't pay well. The person who stays at a nonprofit for 30 years and earns less but builds something meaningful has a different life than the person who bounced between firms and optimized every variable. One is financially richer. One might be richer in other ways. So the real question isn't whether your job is your best investor. Of course it is. The question is, are you investing in your job for the right reasons? Are you trading your time for the life you actually want? Or are you trading your time for money you don't need, while the things you actually want pass you by? That's the question nobody can answer for you. That's the question that matters.